Okay, welcome everybody to tonight's Team Vitality call, where I'm going to cover chapters 3 to 10, and they're short, about how successful people think. And it's funny, when I was reviewing and making the slides, I was reminded why I wanted to teach the book, because there's lots of exciting things that happen in here. So I will share my screen, and we'll start taking a look at some of these slides. Yes, share. Thank you very much. And present. Okay, so last time we did the introduction. Yeah, there we go. Yay. Okay, we did the introduction and then harnessing. What was it? I can't even remember. Doesn't matter. Okay, so so now we're going to move on to harnessing creative thinking. There, hey Tara. Okay. So I really liked this chapter because it's funny. I've never really thought of myself as a particularly creative person, but I am really great at taking other ideas and then shaping and forming them. And that's actually what creativity is. It's not necessarily original thinking. Often it's a bunch of stuff that is put together. And like every time I was reading one of the chapters of this book, I was like, how does this apply to our business? How does this apply to our business? And that's kind of it. Like we could take all this information, because there's so much of it, and we take all of it and then we synthesize it and we take what we want from it and then we use what we want from it. So we have to value those ideas, right, in order to make them happen. And then we can take a look at all these different possibilities that will help stimulate your imagination. I bought, I think it was $12 or something, and I bought an audio book, and it's like 45 minutes, and it's a condensed version of Think and Grow Rich. It's called The Instant Motivator. And I was listening to it again today, and it clicked a whole bunch of things that also followed with what we're going to talk about tonight. So it was really good, right? Now, one of the things with creativity is that sometimes it's weird, right? And so we have to be open to the weird, the odd, the unusual. And it doesn't mean that we're going to use all of those things all the time, but it means that that's where we can get a lot of just different ideas, yeah, etc. Right? So now this I loved because I've experienced this recently at work, right, where creativity is especially expressed in the ability to make connections, to create new associations, and to turn things around and express them in a new way. And in a kind of interesting sense, that's exactly what I'm doing with this Zoom. I've taken it, like, I've read the whole book, I've highlighted what I feel is important, and now I'm expressing it to you in a different way, right? And we have to be unafraid of failure. So as we know, a pro 10 is just a pro 1 that's failed more and more, who didn't give up, right? So it requires a willingness to make stupid. And when I look back on some of the stuff that I did at the beginning of this business, I'm like, oh, wow. But that's what I knew at the time. And at least I was willing to look stupid to get what I wanted, right? Which is to help more people. So, and I'm looking, yeah, anyways, and that's all, again, it's all kind of coming to fruition again. And it's this cycle I've really discovered, right? So we have to be willing to look stupid. And actually, your pride is one of the things that will hold you back the most in our business. And feeling bad about, like, when things don't go right and all that kind of stuff, because of course they don't. And yeah, anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself because they're going to cover more of this later on. So creative thinking is like, think, collect ideas, create, correct, and then connect. And of all of the things on this list, I know that my personal best thing on here is to connect. I'm very good at connecting the little bits that add up to the bigger whole, right? And part of that's it's just part of my education, but just also part of how I am in my life. So more creativity, right? So I love this. Again, like, we always think creativity has to be this, like, oh, I have this genius spark of idea and I made it all on my own. But that's not true at all. It is like to see what everybody else has seen and what everybody else has thought, and then you take that and change it into something that nobody else has done, right? It's really cool. It's hard work, but the more that you do it, the better you get at it. And when you're a creative person, it attracts other people to you because you're different, right? People, most people like want to be the same because it's safe, but they admire creativity in others. They admire things that are different in others. Oh my gosh, my purple hair. Okay. I have had so much, other people love my purple hair more than I love my purple hair. And like, it's funny because I've been almost defensive about it because I don't love it. I'm going to love it the next time that I get it done because it'll be lighter. But like, it's so funny the response that I have gotten because it's bold and it's creative and it's edgy. And so, and I guess it's innovative for a lot, even though I feel like it's kind of trendy, but like it's still a trend that most people wouldn't do. So creativity and innovation, then they go hand in hand. But I literally have strangers come up to me and say they love my hair. Like I haven't had that happen like probably since I was pregnant, right? Like, and you have a pregnant belly and you're like, anyways, and people want to, yeah, they'll come up and talk to you all the time, right? So, right. And then we have this, and this, I feel like this totally applies to the business. If you have a great idea, don't let anybody talk you out of it, right? We have a lot of people that want to talk us out of our business, whether it's online, whether it's in person. Oh, you'll never, oh, look, those don't work. You know, there's so much negativity around our industry. And even though we know the facts that it's the second biggest payout in the world of any industry, with the only one bigger being professional sports, and like all of them together, but it's just that it's that negative environment. So it's a matter of like filtering out when someone says something negative to me, which actually doesn't happen that much anymore because people know that I'm successful. But I wasn't for a long time, so I had to endure that and endure and like not know what to say and how do I defend myself. And I've actually learned that the best defense is actually just like no defense, right? Just be like, okay, I respect your opinion, and that's it. And I used to be like, oh, I'm going to convince you. That is not the case anymore. Mostly, I was just thanking for their time, and I'm like, okay, see you later. But negative environments kill thousands of great ideas every minute. Okay, every minute. So most people want to, and I kind of referred to this already, stay within the lines, even if the lines have been arbitrarily drawn, which means like willy-nilly, right? Oh, we're just going to do this here because, and no reason behind it. But it's been like that for a long time. So you're like, oh, that's just the way it is, right? And I can even think of my own upbringing, right? Like I had a very solid upbringing, but I was very much brought up that we are solid middle class. You will go to school, you will get an education, you will get a middle class job, and la 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 la. And that's exactly what I did. It's exactly what I did. But then when I turned 40, I wanted something different, which is why I finally said yes to this, right? And so, not that that's an idea that's terribly out of date, but it actually kind of is when we look at how the economy is growing with the growth of the gig economy, with the growth of people taking second, third jobs to make ends meet, with the fact that a lot of people want to work from home or from their phones or whatever, right? So, to be honest, that whole plan of get educated for 20 years, work for 40 years, and then retire, question mark, for how many years, that thinking is actually quite out of date. But it's so comfortable and it's what we've been taught. So most people are going to want to buy into that. But what we're looking for is the people who don't want that, right? Or who are interested in adding this as their side business while they keep their full-time job or part-time job or whatever. Okay, so now we've heard this before. You are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So it's a fact that you begin to think like the people that you spend a lot of time with. And so the more time that you spend with people who are creative, the more creative that you will be. But also, I mean, I come back to this all the time, and I use it in my counseling practice all the time. And it's like about every 6 months, one of those 5 people is going to disappear from your life. So you have the opportunity to invite someone else in who does support you, fulfill, is maybe creative, right? Add something to your life. Okay, chapter 4. See, I told you we're gonna, these are not very long. Realistic thinking. So it's funny to go from creative thinking, like the way he's set this out is genius, because it's like, something really positive, and then something kind of like serious, and then something kind of fluffy, and that, like, like there's he goes up and down, up and down. So realistic thinking is the downer of the whole book. But you need to have it, because without realistic thinking, everything is just a dream. And reality is the difference between what we wish for, right? And what actually is. And we always have to remember that this is network marketing, not net wish marketing. So it's the difference what we wish for. And it's funny because I've had to take a break for the last 2 days. I was just like, I've been very busy, okay, and I've done really well this month, but I needed to go buy some shoes. And like, I just wanted them. I'm like, okay. So I made the choice yesterday and today after work to just go shoe shopping instead. And I feel great. And now tomorrow I have a huge day of LifeVantage ahead of me. So it's important, but I also knew what I was doing. So I was like, okay. And of course, so our actions always have consequences. So I have new shoes, but I might not have new customers, right? But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that consequence because I knew it was what I needed to do, and it was just for 2 days. Now, we're talking about leadership a lot, and we talk a lot about attracting leaders to your organization. And I just finished, I'm about to start Kendra Hall's book. And so I think the Stories That Stick. And I think my next Zoom will be about that because I'm the most interested in that. But I also have How Successful People Lead that I'm about halfway through. And that's a very interesting take on leadership, and I think I can probably cover it in one Zoom. But realistic thinking leads to excellence in leadership because it requires you to face reality, right? You have to be like, okay, like what can I? And often I'm like, what can I realistically do today, right? So the decisions that matter relate directly to your purpose. So if your purpose is to advance in your business, then you should be inviting and following up. If the purpose is to lead your team, then spending 3 hours making slides makes sense. I'm going to get to this at the end because at the very end of the book, something happens that I was like, I know I did the right thing, right? So change alone doesn't bring growth, but you cannot have growth without change. You cannot. I mean, I'm in a growth industry, which is psychology, right? So it's all about helping people grow and helping them fulfill what they want and change and break bad habits and all that kind of stuff. So this is something that I've been very familiar with for a very, very long time. But I'll also throw in that every change in your life actually has to be grieved, right? So this is not for part of this book, but it's part of my practice where even when a good change happens, right? Like I've set a retirement date for my school district for June 30th, 2023. And it's interesting because even though that means that I'll have been a Pro 7 for a year and I've earned my life venture, that's what that means. But I will miss what I'm doing now, right? Like, so there'll be some grieving there, right? So even when you get a new car, it's happy, but you have to learn. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of different examples of this that I could go across. But when you get promoted at work, you say you're the boss now. You have to grieve the loss of your friendship because it's not going to be the same with your coworkers, right? So there's a bunch of stuff. So change, but it's one of the only constants in life, right? That and death and taxes. Change, death, and taxes. Those are the constants in life. And so we have to embrace change, and we can use it to grow or we can use it to recede. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, the best leaders ask realistic questions before casting vision. They ask themselves, is this possible? Right? Now, within reason, most things are possible in life. But I love this. Does this dream include everyone or just a few? And I'm reminded again of Think and Grow Rich, where they're talking about like your or he's talking about your like moral compass kind of thing. And it's like, I will not engage in any transaction that does not benefit everybody. It's so great. And but then here it is reflected in John C. Maxwell. And that is well, it's not Earl Nightingale because he's doing the things, but anyways, I'll come to it later. Okay, so you want to ask yourself, have I identified and articulated the areas that will make this goal difficult to achieve, or less difficult to achieve? Sorry, you guys. Oh, I can just squish it. There we go. I had all of you, it was blocking out some of my screen. Now I'm like, oh, I can read everything, right? The bottom line on realistic thinking is that it helps you make an idea usable by taking away the wish factor. And let's just replace wish with work. Let's just do that. And then most ideas and efforts in the world of all the people don't accomplish their intended results because they rely too much on what we wish rather than what actually is. Next. Why are you doing this? Okay. Okay, and then releasing. Oh no, a new chapter. Oops, wait. Okay, chapter 5. Strategic thinking. Okay, so sloppy or generalized thinking is the enemy of achievement. So what we want to do is focus down, right? This one is the bridge that links where you are with where you want to be, because thoughts and ideas without plans and without action, right, are I'm like, well, maybe I should get rid of my notifications. I was doing some follow-ups before before this. Okay, so this comes to do with planning. And for some people, like, I've always been a planner. I have loved agendas since I first got one in the 6th grade, but I understand that most people are not like that. But he has a strategy, and it's interesting because I learned something from this, even though, right? So where you are versus where you want to be. So anytime you shoot from the hip or go into totally reactive mode, you increase your margin of error. And so this is being spontaneously reacting, that kind of thing. But he says, if you plan your life, you'll live your plan. So most people, I kind of want to unshare my screen. Well, my planner is over, like, it is, I don't even have enough space in it right now because of what I've been doing and what I've been planning. So I would say that I'm a weekly planner right now. And I just went over our massive family calendar because so many of our weekends are getting booked up already straight through August. And so I'm like, okay, I need to, like, a vision of what is going to be happening over the next, like, I guess 6 months. But when I look at my schedule, it's typically for the week, and I always check in the morning. Most people try to plan their lives one day at a time. And I feel there's certainly something to be said for living in the moment, but it is not good for planning to be successful, right? It's like, okay, so fewer individuals will plan their lives 1 week at a time. I would put myself in this category. They review their calendar for the week, check their appointments, review their goals, then get to work. And these people generally achieve most of the daily planning colleagues. Now, what he suggests is not even to go monthly, but to go 40 days in advance. So I'm going to try this for the next couple of months because my planner has I've written out like Monday, this is what I always do with new Facebook friends. I invite them to my Christy Able to Help page and my horses page. And then on Fridays, I invite all the people who said yes to that into Activating You. So, like, that's part of, and I have that set in there all the way until June. And then I do my Motivation Monday post on Monday. And I have like 12 of those already ready because anyways, I'm like that. So they're all ready to go. So regardless where I am, I can just post it from Canva. And yeah, anyway, so, and then the follow-ups, and then I go back, like yesterday, I went back through the whole last, like, December and January, and was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to follow up with this one person. And so then I did, and he was happy that I reached out because he's interested in NAT. So anyways, it's like when you have the calendar, you can use it as like a reflective piece, but also a forward thinking piece. And reflection we're going to get to afterwards because it's another chapter. Okay, so plan 40 days in advance rather than just 30. That way you get a jump on the next month and you don't get surprised. So when someone tells me, like, hey, I'm not ready to get skincare right now, but when you have another promotion, let me know. Well, we always have a Mother's Day promotion. So I have like 5 people to follow up with, plus all of my current skincare people, which it's a good one for me. Like the skincare is good, is helpful. Anyways, and so April 15th, I'm going to be like, hey, May 1st, we're going to have a deal. And so then I'll use that time to follow up with them, right? So that is in my book already, all those 5 people. And then I'll always, of course, go through and see, and I know who my skincare clients are, right? So anyway, so putting these kind of things in there makes it go, you open up your book and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to do this today. And when I follow up with them, I'm just like, hey, I have it in my book to follow up with you today. Hey, are you still interested in this? But also what I'm doing is I have about at least a dozen people kind of on the fence and have been for, maybe 6 months. And so today in my follow-ups, I was just going to their Facebook pages and chat and like commenting, right? I was just like, oh, I'm like, before I follow up, why don't I find out a little bit about what they're doing? Like that makes sense. And it only takes a few minutes and they're going to notice it, right? So I'm returning back to like some of the Motivation Monday posts that I've been doing with John C. Maxwell, with his quotes. And it's like, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So I'm like, okay, this is a really easy way for me to show that I care. Okay, now blocking this time for thinking, working, meetings, and fun things. He says, don't forget to put in like golf if you love golf, swimming if you love swimming, playing the piano if you love the piano, whatever it is, block that time in as well. I'm a very scheduled person. I have a very busy life. But part of that means that I have to do it, right? I have to do a 2.5 hour run on Saturday morning. I don't want to do it Sunday morning because I'm going to the Vancouver International Wine Festival on Saturday afternoon. So it has to be done that day. So it motivates me and gets me to do it because I know I only have this small window. And this is a strategy of why Maxwell has been able to do so much. Like, this dude has done a lot of stuff. So how do we release it? Right? It's essentially just planning on steroids. These are his words, okay? It simplifies the management of everyday life, right? And it's using systems. How does this relate to our business? Oh, because the systems are already in place. We just need to use them. So systems are nothing more than good strategies repeated. And we do not have to come up with these ourselves. They're already there for us. That's why the code training is so great, is because it covers everything. And then we have our own strategies like ATM, add tag message. I've been doing great at adding tagging. I have not been doing great at messaging. I have 40 people to follow up with in activating you that I've added since September. And so I'm like, okay, I will be doing that in March, right? Hey, you've been kicking around there. Do you got any questions? Like that kind of thing. Oh, I noticed that you are now doing this. Anyways, it's like having those conversations, right? So a strategy that doesn't take into account your resources, right? Time is a resource, money is a resource. And so we want to take an inventory of what is realistic for you to strategize with. How much time do you have? Some of us have lots of time. Others of us have almost no time, right? But they always say, like, ask a busy person if you want to get something done. And that comes down to this, is like, okay, I've got 15 minutes. I've got 20 minutes to go grocery shopping. I've got this, whatever, right? How much money do we have? So of course, sometimes the timing isn't right with money, but if you're going to, like, Ben and I refinanced our house, and we rolled our debt into our mortgage. So all of a sudden I had a more disposable income. So anyways, there's little things like this that we have to think about. What are your other assets, right? Which people on your team can make an impact? And there's a whole bunch of stuff in the upcoming 20 minutes about teams. And the thing I love about this business and our team in particular is that we really work together and that we can make a great impact because of that. So little things can be easily won through systems and personal discipline, but major issues need more strategic time, thinking time, and you should be doing this. Like, it's funny, like, to encourage you to be thinking and to be thinking about your thinking. It feels very teachy to me because, of course, I was an English teacher and I was very passionate about metacognition, which is thinking about your thinking, right? So it's why. Anyways, I won't get into that. But chapter 6. Oh, this one could be my favorite of all of the chapters because it is the one that is the most exciting to me. Okay. And so people who embrace possibility thinking, not thing, are capable of accomplishing tasks that seem impossible because they believe in solutions. Always, when you are interacting with anybody about the business, about our products, you want to be thinking that you are giving a solution for them in some way. I came up with, so remember last time he was like, you need to write it down. So I now have a notepad at a couple different places in the house, and I will get these ideas about posts that I want to make, right? I just found a way to link the 10% of grade eights that need sex education to the 10% of people that I know right now that need Protanum. And I found a way to do a Facebook Live. I have not done it yet, but it will happen probably tomorrow, actually, about how I don't know who needs 10% of people need this right now, but I don't know who it is. So everybody's getting the same message and they can glean what they want. And maybe they need it in 5 years, like sex ed. Maybe they need it in 10 years. Maybe they never need it, but I don't know who that is. So I'm going to be giving everybody the same information. And then and I'm going to talk about this process. But I got that idea last night when I was like brushing my teeth. So I came over, wrote it down, and now I have something to work with. So when you have ideas, and I have like 5 of those ready to go, I'm like, wow. So it's so cool when you write it down, because then you don't lose it out into the universe, right? So we believe in solutions. So we are solution-oriented people, and if somebody doesn't like our solution, that's okay, right? That's totally fine. But many, many people will, especially if you live it and especially if you prove it. So when you believe you can do something difficult and you succeed, so many doors open for you, right? For many of us, this is I'd say for all of us, this is an uphill battle, but not forever, right? There is going to be a peak where it gets easier. And that peak is different for all of us. That peak for me is Pro 7, right? That is my life venture. I know my life will change dramatically when that happens, because it replaces my current income. I can afford the health care that I'm going to need to get, blah, blah, blah. But for somebody that might be Pro 3, right? Bringing in $500 a month could be the thing that changes their lives, right? So it doesn't matter. Those doors are going to open. People who think big attract big people to them. This has a lot to do with leadership, but if you want to achieve big things, you need to become a possibility thinker. My first example in this business, my first example of being a possibility thinker was the day that I enrolled. The day that I enrolled, I had no idea what I was doing or what I wasn't getting into. I had not even tried the product. I didn't sleep the entire night because I was dreaming about possibilities. And that's part of why this is so exciting to me, okay? So a direct correlation exists between possibility thinking and the level of a person's energy. And so I'm a naturally energetic person. And of course, now that I'm activated, I'm like crazy energetic, right? But think about this. This is on like the more negative side. If you know you can't succeed, how much time and energy are you going to give to that, right? If you're like, oh, I can't do it, why would you continue to even try, right? So we want to be like, okay, and nobody goes looking for a lost cause. You invest in yourself, in what you believe can succeed. And when you embrace possibility thinking, you believe in what you're doing, and that gives you energy. It is like this feedback loop, right? Oh, I only have 10 minutes. I want to make sure I get through this. Okay. But if you can't believe you do something, it doesn't matter how hard you try, because you've already lost. But if you do believe in what you can do, you've already won much of the battle. Okay. Okay, so it's more than just refusing yourself to let yourself be negative. It's looking for positive possibilities despite the circumstances. This is the right attitude can cultivate to positive possibility thinking. And then one way to do it is to prompt yourself to dream one size bigger than you normally do. And it's interesting because I just went through this with Daisy, where I was like, I'll be Pro 5 by global. And she's like, no, girl, you'll be Pro 6. And that's dreaming bigger. Right? I do have a vision board with things that I want to achieve, and some of them are Life Vantage, and some of them are travel, and some of them are personal stuff and whatever, right? But they're big dreams, and so I'm learning not to dream too small, right? So if you'll be shocked at what you can achieve. And again, when I look back at like the goals that I set for how many distributors I wanted at the events last year, and I dreamed bigger than I thought, and I almost reached those goals. I was shocked. And so it was very, very cool. So you want to believe in greater possibilities. Most people want their lives to keep improving, but they value peace and stability at the same time. So you can't settle for what you have now if you want more, right? So I love this. Take comfort in knowing that other possibility thinkers right now around the world are doing incredible things, like trying to cure cancer, feeding hungry people, developing new energy strategies. There's just so much. And we admire these people who are these big thinkers who are changing the world. So why not become one? Reflective thinking. Oh man, when you're in an education, reflection, reflection, reflection. So this is something I've been doing for almost 20 years in because of my job. So reflection is very important because it helps you process what you've learned from the mistakes that you've made, etc. Right? So it helps us learn from our successes and mistakes, and then what we should repeat and maybe what we should change. And I've had lots of this in our business where I've been like, whoa, that was really the wrong way to go. Again, like something like arguing with somebody when they clearly don't care and just want to have an argument about whatever our science. Now I just back away and I'm polite instead of engaging and trying to prove them wrong, right? An experience becomes valuable when it informs or equips us to meet new experiences. We want to write down good thoughts. If you get anything from these whole trainings that I've done over the last 2 weeks, is that we want to write it down. And so now this is so true of my experience, but also like at Pro D and conferences and even LifeVantage. Most people go to a conference, we have a good time. We listen to speakers, we take notes. We always say, never leave your fortune to your memory, never. So you always want to write things down. But again, I have all these notebooks full of stuff that was meaningful to me at the time, but now maybe be outdated because I've grown so much as a person and in the business, right? So when you go and have a good time, you're just getting a temporary surge of motivation. But if you revisit what you've heard, reflect on it, and then put it into action, that is when it can change your life. So, sample questions to help you reflect. What about personal growth? And this is daily. What have I learned today that will help me grow? How can I apply it to my life and when? Adding value. We talk about adding value in social media all the time. To whom did I add value today and how do I know? Leadership. Did I lead by example today? Did I lift my people and my organization to a higher level? Sometimes it feels like this is written like exactly for us, but it's not. These are common principles in doing good business. I love this. Family. Did I communicate my love to my family today? How did I show it? Did they feel it? And did they return it? So these are good. I just think it's good. Because some days I'm like, no. And my inner circle, these are those 5 people, right? Have I spent enough time with my key players? What can I do to help them be more successful? Love it. And in what other areas can I mentor them? Okay, this is so true for our business because popular thinking says network marketing is terrible and the worst thing ever, right? But if you value popularity over good thinking, then you're going to limit your potential, right? Good thinking is hard work, and if it was easy, everybody would be a good thinker. But most people try to live life the easy way. They don't want to do the hard work of thinking or to pay the price of success because success comes with a price. That is one thing that I am learning over and over again is that you need to change, right? Put the effort that you want to put into changing life, our system into changing yourself, and you'll grow much, much faster. But popular thinking, basically we're counting on other people to hoping that they have figured out what was right. But popular equals normal equals average. So if you're too attached to your own thinking and how everything is done now, then nothing's going to change from the better. So popular thinking is comfortable. And in order to embrace achievement, we're going to have to get a little uncomfortable. How many times are we told to get out of your comfort zone, right? I'm going to make it in 4 minutes. This is exciting. Chapter 9, the benefit from shared thinking. I love this. I have experienced it many times in my career, and it's certainly true of our team, right? We understand the power that when we value the thoughts and ideas of others, we get the compounded results that accomplish more than we ever could on our own. It's faster, right? Think about it. If you're going to learn something new, are you just going to go like, oh, I'll just figure this out on my own? Or are you going to go YouTube it and figure out, Ben just fixed our dryer and he learned it on YouTube. So like, you know, thank you for saving us $400 in repairs, my darling dear, right? But it's incredible. So we want to use shared thinking. It's stronger. There's the compounding action, and the experience can be great when you've been part of a think tank. Like, anyways, I'm not going to go into examples because I'm running out of time, but I recently experienced this at work where we had a bunch of ideas batted around, and in the end, and one person was like, I'm right, blah, blah, blah. And he wasn't, and neither was I, but all together, we came up with a great solution. And good leadership puts together the right people at the right time for the right purpose so that everybody wins. Okay, remember how last Zoom, I was like, I don't know if I made the right decision by putting 3 hours into making these slides versus doing inviting and following up and doing things that were good for my business. And then this came along and I went, I did the right thing. There are fewer things in life that bring greater personal rewards than helping others. I am a helper, but like I'm a counselor. You could just trade out my job for helper. So I find a great deal of satisfaction in my job, but it can be really draining. I like helping people this way better, actually. But if you want to improve your world, then you have focused your attention on helping others. My business didn't really explode until Kansas City, when I truly internalized that in order to be successful, it had to be about other people. It had to be about other people. And when you make that shift, your whole attitude towards this business changes. Whole attitude. I have a friend who I just enrolled, and we've been talking for a year, anxiety, concussion, a bunch of stuff. He hated the fact that there was shipping. I was just like, you know what? So I talked to him and I said, I'll give you my commission. You get 3. You order 3 bottles of Protanum. I'll give you my commission and you get free shipping anyways. He was like, are you serious? I was like, yes, this is not about the money for me. It is about helping you. And I know this is going to help you so much. He has been so grateful and it's been awesome. And I can't wait to see his results. And now chances are I have a long-term ongoing customer, right? So that will help me in the end. Okay. Oh, less than a minute. Okay. So you want to invest in people and then consider them on their journey. I win, you lose, I only win once. You lose, I win, you win, I lose, you only win once. We both win, we win many times. We both lose, we're both out, right? Unselfish thinkers go into a relationship and make sure the other person wins first. And that makes all the difference. And I think, Finn, woohoo! I love it when I'm gonna stop my share, right? So I love it when I nail things on time. That's important to me.
That was really great, Christy. Thank you so much. I took a ton of notes and came up with a lot of great quotes that I'll build off of everything you're talking about. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, I really liked reading this, and I would encourage you to read it yourself. Yeah. Anybody else?
That was great. Thanks, Christy. It was awesome.
Great. You're welcome. I like doing I like doing this kind of stuff. So, okay, I'm going to stop, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks. Bye.